Welcome back to the Business Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, David Carr, bringing people together episode after episode, and we've got a great new guest this week, Alan Franks. I'm going to share a little bit more about Alan before we have him come on here. He is one that has really helped many entrepreneurs and companies find freedom. He's the author of Empowered Money, and he has got so much great wisdom. I'm so excited to have him share with you all here today because a lot of us are stuck and we're not having the freedom that we want financially, operationally, emotionally, and that's where we want to really get into it today. Alan is as a certified financial planner, among other things. He has wrote the book, like I said, Empowered Money, and is founder of the Business Planning Institute, where he really helps business owners build intentional, integrated life plans and become exit ready before they really think they need to. That's a lot of things I found. So Alan, I want to say thank you. I know that was a mouthful I was covering, but I wanted to make sure I got everybody listening in, leaning in, so they can learn from you today.
Thanks so much for having me, David. Looking forward to spend some time here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love your mission on helping business owners become, stable, moving away from, we're going to get into this, being broke, relationally broke, business broke. You're helping them break the brokenness, if you will, right, and really design lives and companies that really reflect their values. And as you and I were talking before we recorded this podcast, with Steward Your Business, I'm all about how do you take care of your people? What does that look like? And a lot of business owners don't have somebody in their court like you to come alongside them. I know you're based in Atlanta. You help folks all over, but could you start and unpack for us, Alan, a little bit of your journey about how you use the spark of where you're at now and creating the book and how you're helping businesses?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, first of all, once again, thanks again for having me, and look forward to having some fun here today. But let's just kind of go back to the beginning. I was given a gift very early on that most people are not given, and that was the gift of watching my father create multi-generational wealth in one generation, starting from nothing and creating something. And even more so, I was blessed with the gift that he brought me along with him. He brought me to the meetings with him. I went and met with his life insurance person, his investment person. I remember he took a Robert Kiyosaki course and he bought 6 homes without putting any cash down at all. And I went to the closing, and my gosh, the paperwork. I just remember that as a kid, that having a really big impact on me. And then he was a business owner. I saw him running 6 businesses. I saw him getting up and leaving before I woke up. One time I actually, heard him start the car, and I got up and I raced downstairs just saying goodbye to him before he left. And I just missed him, And so I saw the sacrifice that it took, and I heard the constant complaining about people and employees and medical fields of insurances, right? So I got that benefit. And so when I graduated from Mercer and studied economics, entrepreneurial management, I really, I graduated possibly the worst possible time, 2010. It was just so bad from an employment. So I was basically forced to go into financial planning and helping people reach their goals there. And I started doing that, and I've been doing this for 15 years now. And one day I woke up and I said, man, as a CFP, a certified financial planner, I feel like I'm a 10 out of 10. But as a business owner, I feel like a 2 out of 10. I'm trapped. I went from entrepreneur to untrappedpreneur, right? And that's what we see is that, okay, people start these businesses and they either fail or they're successful, but then they're successful and people are just, almost, they're trapped by their business, whether it's time, energy, emotions, you name it. And so here I was running a successful business, not doing it very efficiently, and saying, man, there's got to be more to life. So what I did is I basically went down a rabbit hole of how to run a better business, not to go out and help other entrepreneurs do this, to help me to do this, to help me be more present as a family member, as a father, right? To help me be able to not just reinvest all the revenue into the company, but also get some more money to build my own net worth outside of it, to help me build up my risk management. So if something were to happen to me, my clients would be taken care of. And so what I found is that, wow, I'm not the only business owner that's struggling with this. why don't we create a program to help business owners? And that's where we created the Freedom Framework.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely get into that, Alan. I think hearing your own journey, and I just turned 52 last month. We're recording this in the beginning of December here, 2025. But the challenges, like you said, and the way you navigated it. And there's something to be said that here you are 15 years later, you're still standing. You've written this book, and I love when we were talking before we started recording this. You told me this story about this encouragement of this, I believe, a teacher you had when you were younger, and like how that helped. Talk a little bit of that, because I think that was so powerful, the influence of teachers and mentors in our life.
Absolutely, and I'm trying to actually locate her. So if anybody knows of Libby Buck, she was my 4th grade teacher, and I'm trying to send her my book. But in the first chapter is a story of how one person can really be that change agent that you need. Mm-hmm. And so it was my 4th grade teacher, and guys, just paint a picture. 4th grade, I'm really shy, I'm really overweight. The only thing I like about school is snack break at 10, lunch at 12, and the bell ringing at 3 o'clock, right? And I realized, to give you an idea, I thought vocabulary was a guessing game, right? So I was like, if I got a 70, that was pretty good guessing, right? I wasn't engaged. I wasn't locked in. Yep. And I showed up to school, first week of 4th grade, really, 2nd or 3rd day, and I didn't have the right materials. Now, to be clear, I'm in 4th grade. My job's not to get the right materials. My job's to hand my mom the list of materials and go shopping with her. Well, we had the wrong materials. And this teacher just hops on me. And it wasn't about the right materials. It was about being prepared. And she looked at me, and man, I remember the stare like it was yesterday. And basically, she told me without saying it, it's like, not this year, not in my class. You're not just going to drift. You're not just going to exist. You're going to engage. You're going to get after it. And that year changed the entire trajectory of my life. I went from a C student to an A student. Wow. I went from being way overweight to being underweight. I went from being very shy to at least being able, being pretty social, right? And that was the year that everything started to change, right? And so, and I look back and I reflect on that. And my goal, whenever we meet new people that we're working with, new business owners we're working with, I want to be that change agent, because we all go through times in our lives where we're coasting, where we're just existing. And I want to shake people and wake them up and say, hey, there's more to life than this. I know you're so used to dealing with this problem. You're so used to just kind of, surviving. No. There's more to life than surviving. We can go thrive. We just need to wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. You're speaking to my heart there, Alan, and that's why I wanted to bring the story, because we need different people in our lives to wake us up in certain areas, whether it's your business, whether it might be your marriage or family, it could be your spiritual life. There's different areas, and I think we need mentors and people to guide us. That's why we have the Business Roundtable podcast, is we want to have people like you here, Alan, and that bring a different voice. And hopefully, as you guys are listening, you're like, hey, Alan gets this. He understands this. He's an advocate. He's somebody that I could talk to and explore this in a safe manner, in a way that it's not here. We're not trying to beat up anybody. We're just trying to help you move forward and do it in a healthy, sustainable way. And so, Alan, I just want to thank you for sharing that story, because these are amazing turning points that really can help you, and you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay, in a defeatist mentality or a fixed mindset, but you can actually move through this. And that gets me into the part of the brokenness, if you will. I mentioned earlier, and we talked about this before we recorded the podcast, but I thought, when you said to me, entrepreneurs are broke in different ways. They're personally broken, financially broken, maybe within the business. Break that down a little bit about what you're seeing there.
Yeah. So if you were to imagine a Venn diagram with 3 circles, and the top circle there is personal. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this personal, this would be you, your emotions, your energy, your time, your leadership capability, all that stuff that a personal coach or a therapist would really dive into. Okay. And then the bottom left circle, let's put as your finances. right? Your finances, this would be your net worth statement, your 401ks, your savings, your debts, things like that. And then the bottom right circle would be your business, okay? Now, all three of those circles interlap in the center, and that's what we call life. That's where you as a business owner live. That's where I live, right? And so the challenge that we run into is that we tend to hit what we call ceilings of complexity in each of those circles. And when we hit a ceiling of complexity in one circle, it affects our growth in the other one. The best example would be your business is not going to outgrow your ability to lead other people. Okay. Yeah. On the personal side, you as a person and your ability to lead yourself and hold yourself accountable and hold others accountable is inevitably going to limit how much your business grows. Okay. And then your business growth is inevitably going to limit what you could do on your personal finances side, right? If we're not doing well in the business, we're not going to be able to invest in other assets and diversify. On the flip side, if our personal finances are an absolute wreck, we may not be able to go out there and get the loan that we need to invest in our business or to go buy that piece of commercial real estate, right? So when we look at the three circles of your life, your personal finances, and your business finances, we can't separate these. They're all related right here, and they all interlap in that place that we call life right there. So when we come in and we're working with a business owner, we can't ignore the leadership of that person. I'm not gonna lie, I just got off the phone with a business owner and told him that he had to lose 34 pounds in 2026. Right? Why did I say that? Because his life insurance had gotten rated, and that's going to affect personal finances, his risk management through the business. And here's the deal. Every big breakthrough I've ever had in business has also been tied to a physical fitness challenge where I was really locked in, because I don't want to go David Goggins on us today. But if you can break through the mental burdens and the mental barriers on the physical side, all of a sudden these problems in businesses that seem like mountains, they become molehills, right? And so that's where life happens, is when we get all three of these circles integrated in working together towards one common goal. And that's what we strive to do when working with people.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I hope as people are listening to this, just do a self-assessment. And this is where I think, Alan, you can meet with them, or I would meet with them too. By the way, you guys can connect with Alan on LinkedIn, and we'll put all in the show notes ways that you guys can connect in there. But, like you said, just do an assessment here. Whenever you're listening to this, a lot of people do this at the end of the year. We're recording this in December. But quite honestly, you don't have to wait till the end of December or specific special time. Well, I should do my annual planning or this. I think the point is, Alan, you probably should be looking at this regularly, right? Because nothing just stays static, right?
We need to be evaluating and having a framework to evaluate. You're right, on a month-by-month basis, realistically. Right? I'm saying, okay, how are we feeling financially right now? And then we can track that over time and collect some data, right? But here's the problem. It's really hard to coach yourself. It just is, right? Yep. Listen, I coach a lot of people, but I also pay a lot of money to have a coach for myself, right? It's, because all of a sudden you do really good in this one area, but we forgot to focus in on this area, right? So that's where paying for outside help and just somebody from the outside to take a look into the entire picture, because we're in the weeds of this. We're in the thick of it every single day as business owners. Sometimes we need an outside perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a recent episode where we were talking about, I mentioned to you about ESOPs, of how do I be a legacy, the outside consultant, because it's complex. We don't understand all the nuances of what we need to do to make this happen. Same thing with me when I'm working with companies and their teams. They don't see all of those things, and you have somebody else come in and hold a mirror up and look at that. And to your point, Alan, it's like you mentioned physicality. If you don't step on the scale, if you're not looking at it, you can't really fix what you're not tracking and looking at.
Totally.
Right.
The good and the bad thing about tracking is number one, tracking sucks. Like, I think we all agree, like, okay, it's a pain in the butt to track. Yeah. The problem is it's so damn effective that we can't not do it, right? It's so effective, right? And the best kind of tracking is not some special report that you pull up or technology that does. The best kind of tracking is manually tracking your stuff, right? It's so, and once again, that goes back to the Libby Buck in fourth grade engagement, right? Getting engaged, knowing, keeping score and playing to win.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to get into your freedom framework that I want to talk, because you've created this way of helping folks. So to me, it's like, what are we tracking the right things? Are we looking at the right things? And so can you walk us through the framework, the freedom framework that you've created, so that we are actually looking at the right thing as far as goals, values, all of these things? Can you walk us through that, Alan?
Absolutely. So we're going to walk through the freedom framework here. And I just want to give one example. I alluded to it earlier. We all start off as entrepreneurs, and then we become on-trappreneurs, where we're trapped in our business there. And and hopefully the idea is become untrappedpreneurs, right? Where we are independent, financially independent from our business, and our business is independent from us, meaning we're not just the ones in there running it. It's a legitimate business, right? So let's talk about the freedom framework. I'm going to run through it real quick. F stands for financial planning. We can never forget why the business is there. So many business owners forget this, right? And a lot of people are just so fiercely independent that they really are basically buying their job. They're going to go buy a company to replace the same income that they would make at W-2. Let me tell you how bad of a deal this is, right? People are doing this just so they're not told when and where to work. And we've all heard the adage, we gave up the 40-hour-a-week job so that we can get the 80-hour-a-week job. Like, it's not worth it, guys. It's not. If we do not understand that our business is there to build our personal wealth, yes, there's a lot of other reasons. There's a mission behind it. There's customers we're helping. There's employees that we're helping. We got to keep in mind that this business, though, has to tie in to building your personal wealth outside of the business so that you can become financially independent. Otherwise, stay at your W-2 job, check out at 5, be present with your family at night, because that's the one thing that us business owners struggle with the most, is being present, right? So it all starts with, how does your business tie into your overall personal financial plan, right? The R then in freedom is risk management, right? We have to have a plan if we did not wake up this morning. The most important thing I can ask a business owner, the number one question I ask them is, what's your business worth? We'll talk about that in a second, and nobody ever knows. Right? The second and most important question is, what happened if you did not wake up this morning, right? Which clients are going to be let down? Which employees are going to be let go, right? Do you have a buy-sell agreement in place? Well, I don't have a partner. I don't care. Let's get a one-way buy-sell agreement. We have to have a contingency plan, because the truth is that death is a lot more inevitable than anybody wants to think about, right? And let's say it's not death. Let's say it's a sickness that you got to take some time off, right? Maybe not even you getting sick. Maybe somebody that you care about getting sick.
Exactly.
We need to have a contingency plan for every single person in the organization. Hey, if so-and-so goes on maternity leave, who's taking over those jobs? It needs to be written down, but we also need to have a financial contingency plan if something doesn't happen. If something happens to you or your partners there. So the R in there is risk management, right? Having a good game plan there. The E is, this is so important, enterprise value. Man, if you don't take anything away from today, if we do not have a way of calculating the value of your company as an asset and updating and tracking that value, then what are we doing here? We're not playing a game. We're not playing to win. Winners keep score. And the idea here is, every single year after you file your taxes, we need to be getting a new update on your enterprise value. What does that mean? We need to be doing a new business valuation, right? So my free giveaway to everybody listening is, if you go to my website, thebusinessplanninginstitute.com, way too long, it'll be in the show notes here, thebusinessplanninginstitute.com. We have a free assessment there that will get you a really, really good valuation, right? When you say, well, is it 100% accurate? The only way to get 100% accurate value of your business is to take it to market and see what somebody's willing to pay for it. The accuracy actually doesn't matter as much here if you're not looking at selling here. But what this does is it helps us track the growth of our business over time, right? Because we're not trying to grow our business and we're coasting, and the only way we can coast is down. And so this has happened so much here with businesses, particularly run by baby boomers, where they're making $250K of profit. They're comfortable with $250K of profit. And then next thing you know, COVID hit, inflation spikes, and $250,000 of profit just ain't cutting it anymore, right? Because what happened is that their growth really slowed. But guess what did it? Their expenses sped up. profit went down, right? So we need to be gauging the value. That's what we call enterprise value. So that's the first E in the Freedom Framework. The second E is for estate planning. We got to keep the end in mind. We got to have our wills or trusts done. We've got to have our attorneys, our legal documents wrapped up here. So we help all of our clients get that done. Well, we're going to talk the least about that. The D in Freedom stands for debt and leverage. And this is really in the growth phase, right? How do we leverage other people's money to grow our company so that, and here's the deal, we really want to get our business, if we can get it to about 10 million of revenue and about $1 million of EBITDA, we're going to start attracting another type of buyer. We're going to start attracting the private equity field of buying. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to sell to private equity, but it means that we have another opportunity. And if we do that there, then all of a sudden, we're going to start going from what we call the mom and pop multiples to private equity multiples. And that can sometimes be double on there, right? So the idea here is that for the businesses in growth mode, we want them to understand how they can leverage their balance sheet to go get money, to go buy commercial real estate, to go buy another book of business, to expand their business. We want to understand that the idea of having a business line of credit is not just a nice thing. It's a necessity because you never know when that surprise tax bill is going to hit, then when that emergency is going to hit, right? So it's more than just growth here. It's also risk management. But so many people are afraid of debt that they want to have that conversation. We like to lean into that conversation. So, hey, 2 more letters here. O is optimization. This is where David comes in. Here's what I'm not. I'm not a consultant. I'm going to tell you that we need better SOPs, right? The truth is that I'm not the guy that's going to get my hands in the weeds and look and come live in your business and tell you how to operate this better or how to put
your team together. Yeah.
That's not me, guys, right? That's where somebody like David really comes in. So that's where the optimization piece comes in, is saying, hey, we're constantly thinking, how do we do more sales, more clients, buy more companies? Let's stop that for a second and say, how can we do better? Because the truth is, let's bring this back to enterprise value here, is that when we do evaluation, when you fill out that free assessment, you're going to get 2 numbers. One is the business value that it currently is based off of your self-assessment. There's 18 questions, right? And then there's going to be what your business could be worth if we were just going to move everything to a little bit to the right, make everything a little bit better, right? And so if we can focus in on making our business better, inevitably, not only will that close what we call the value gap of what your business is worth and what it could be worth, but also it's going to drive revenue. It's going to make you more profitable. That's going to build your enterprise value, right? And that leads us to the M in Freedom Framework, monetize, right? Monetize. We business owners, we forget to monetize our business. We get so focused in on the mission. We forget to take profit for ourselves. We forget to put money in our own bank account, right? We forget to build up our own investment account. We forget to diversify, right? And then when it comes to monetize too, is this idea of exit planning, right? Which, guys, all exit planning is good business planning with a deadline, right? You're saying, hey, we should be able to exit today if we want to, right? Very few businesses can. So what we say is, hey, your business, we do this for every single business owner that's in growth phase, I would say. Some people are already looking for the exit. But if somebody's in growth phase, say, hey, listen, we just did your business valuation. Your business is worth $2 million. Okay. Here's the goal. I want us to 10x this in the next 10 years. That's just a 25% CAGR. I want us to go from 2 million to 10 million in the next 10 years. Okay. Do you think we can do that? And if they're all on board, then we're going to take them on as clients. If they're not on board, they're probably not a good fit for us, right? Now, here's the point. 10xing in 10 years, once again, it's 25% growth year over year. It's not impossible, but it is. We are going to have to do things differently.
It'll be challenging, yeah.
We're not just going to be able to pedal around at 10% growth every single year, right? We got to change the way we do business, right? And that's what we kind of want to think is, hey, what do we have to change here? We got to get the mind thinking. What drastically do we have to change in order to get there, right? But the idea of monetization is that, hey, at some point, you're going to want to exit from this business. Now, maybe you still own it and other people operate it, Golly,
absolutely.
isn't that the goal, right? Isn't that the goal, to be able to go to Italy for 3 months and it not be a dumpster fire when you get back? That'd be awesome. We call that the Italy test, right? Very few business owners get there, but that's the ultimate goal, right? Because if we can get there, then all of a sudden, if we wanted to sell, it's a very attractive business. Nobody wants to buy a job. Nobody wants to buy a dumpster fire, right?
Yep.
But if it's a well-oiled machine, all of a sudden we're going to be able to get a higher multiple on that. So when we say exit, we might just mean, hey, you're stepping away as a CEO and you're just sitting more on the board of directors. Maybe it's, hey, we've got family in, or we got a really good employee, which we're actually working on right now. We're working on a big roofing company that, that they're working on transferring it to their top employee and what that would look like from a structured buyout perspective. We've got another business selling right now that is going to the sun, and what that's going. We got 2 businesses actually that are doing that, what that looks like. And then we just had a business sell out to private equity as well, right? So there's a lot of ways we can exit. It could be to employees, could be to family members, it could be to an outside salesperson. But at the end of the day, I know I talked a lot here. I just want to, I want to just say this. Us business owners, there is not only a lot of time that went into this, but there is a lot of emotional sweat equity that went into running this business. The stress, the fact that it's damn near impossible for us to be fully present with our family after 5 o'clock at night. That's my biggest challenge. I try so hard, right? But it's damn near impossible, right? The mental and emotional sweat equity that we as business owners have in our business is something that cannot be quantified, but we all know is probably the biggest price to being a business owner, right? That's what I want you to recoup. That right there. You have worked so hard to build this. You've done so much. If we're not building a business to sell, we need to not build a business at all. We need to go get a 401k that's got health, W-2, health insurance, right? Sure, we can get fired. We'll just go find another job. We can cut off, 5:30 every single night and be present with our family, right? If we're not building something to sell, we need to get out of the game. Right. And so that's the biggest thing. So that's our freedom framework right there. Once again, the idea is, hey, we go from entrepreneur to entrepreneur to hopefully untrapreneur, right? And so that's kind of our framework of helping people.
I love that, Alan. I mean, you broke a lot down. We'll put this all in the show notes. If you guys missed anything or you're listening and you're like, I want to go back over that, we're going to break it all down in there so you guys can look at that. But, the idea that, creating an exit ready business, Alan, I think is so important. I work with a lot of small business owners in their teams, and it's not that they want to sell necessarily tomorrow or next week or next year even, but being ready with that preparedness mindset and not tied to an age or a specific, like, just general timeline, but like you said, getting into that place where you don't have to, and like you said, could the business run by itself? Yes, and if you want to be more involved, you're choosing not because you have to, but just because you want to, and not feeling like, if I'm not there, the business won't run. And like you said, it'll be a dumpster fire. And to me, that's so important. You're a unifier that I hear, Alan, of bringing folks like me into the world with the business owners and saying, like, even a family-run business, okay, yeah, you're going to take over. How is it going to look like to manage the rest of your team? How is it going to grow, like you said, to 25%, to add more people? It's going to add more stress, other challenges. How are you going to do that? And you work with all these different folks in the world. I just had a person on my podcast recently says she's an accountant, and so she's looking similar to you at like profit first. Like, how is that? What are the numbers in your business, right? So that they can give you the right information, the right data, Alan, so that you can help advise them as to where they should be. Estate planning, what does that look like? Are you working with getting things all in alignment? And are you raising capital, debt necessarily in an investment? And that's different in the when you look at personal versus the business, right? How are you structured? How is it handling that? So having somebody like you come alongside and look holistically at all these things, to me, is so valuable. And that's why you guys want to listen in here and know that somebody's spent this work applying this to himself and living this out for his clients. Because really, it's on the podcast is really what we want people like you, Alan, that are living from the way they lead themselves. And that's what I hear clearly.
Well, and we've talked about this, David. The very first time I meet a business owner, the first thing I want to do is I want to get a really good gauge of how strong their professional team is, not their internal team, their professional team. If I'm sitting in front of them, they're already a successful business. They probably have a really good internal team. If not, we'll help them build it out, right? And that's where you can really connect. But I want to look at their professional team, because the truth is to get to mission accomplished, it takes an army, right? And it takes a general of that army too. And that's where I feel like I probably do my best work, is helping get shit done. Because the truth is that people tend to work in silos. The attorneys over here doing their thing, the accountants doing their thing, the business coaches doing their thing, the bankers doing their thing. None of them are talking to each other. Silos don't have windows because they don't want other people peeking in and critiquing their work. And that's where we come in, a bit of a wrecking ball, and say, all right. So, but what we ask our business owner clients is, we ask them not only who their accountant is, their attorney, their real estate person. We ask them to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. Their investment advisor. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being Warren Buffett, how good is your investment advisor, right? How good is your accountant, right? A business coach. And what's amazing to me, David, is how many subpar numbers we get from our business owners, where they would never accept a 6 out of 10 on their team in their company, yet they've stayed with the same accountant and they gave them a 4 out of 10. They stayed with the same estate planning attorney and they're 3 out of 10. It's like, how are you accepting this subpar performance in your professional team when you would never accept that in your own company? And the truth is that they're busy, that they don't want to think about it. That it's actually, they don't see that it's worth taking the time to interview a few accountants to get the best one, right? And that's where we can really come in and help them. And the truth is that, an accountant that was an 8 out of 10 5 years ago can easily slip to a 3 out of 10. Right? It's like a football team. You got to constantly be getting new players in, fresh players, all right? And so that's kind of what we look at ourselves as, hey, we want to be the coach and the QB of the quarterback of the football team, to get everybody on the same page, make sure everybody's on the same play call, and then get the ball to the right person at the right time for the right, for the right risk / that we're seeing. Right.
I mean, I 100% agree on that, Alan. And honestly, even you said, I've even seen it internal with teams. There's a certain level, if they're not doing regular performance assessments, they're not getting feedback from the team. Sometimes they don't do this. I've just seen this enough in professional services, Alan, when was the last time you did a performance review with an employee? I don't think we've done one. Well, you probably should be looking at that, because how could they even perform better for you if you don't tell them what you need? And to your point, Alan, if you need additional information and the accountant's like, I didn't know you needed that, or they're not being proactive, or you said this is just what you needed and now things have changed. Well, let's reset, right? This is the stuff that we need. This is the things that we're tracking. And I think, to your point, having somebody like yourself going around and kind of shaking things up in a good way. It's just, hey, we're going to look at this and give the people opportunity to rise up. Hopefully, that's what I always try to do with employees, is like, hey, here's where we're going. Love to have you come. Let's do this. This is where we're all going. Right. Alan, to your point, I want to ask you this question, because I feel like, at least when I work with businesses, is the business owner, may in their mind have the idea of what it should look like internally with their team. They have the vision. They might even talk about core values, but they've done it kind of once, and then new employees come in and go. And then if I actually polled people and I said, so are you clear on the mission and where we're going and what we value? I would say it would be a low number. You say, about a scale of 1 to 10, I doubt many of them would be an 8. You'd be maybe a 7, then 6. It would drop down. And so, to your point earlier, in the professional team, where's the mission? Where are we all going in all of this? Yeah, kind of have a little bit of an idea, but we haven't really talked about it in a while. I've even talked with commercial insurance brokers, Alan. The business owners going to and the brokers like, I'm not clear on all the things that you need, and you're not giving me the clear picture. So I can't go to market to get you the right commercial insurance, for example, because you're not giving me the clear picture. And if you're not giving me the clear picture, what does that look like for your employees or your family members about where you want to go?
It's so funny when we're working with our busiest of entrepreneurs. at first, when I come on board, it's amazing. The estate planning attorney kind of perks up a little bit. The accountant perks up. Oh no, somebody's in here. They're going to check my stuff. And I'm like, no, guys, I'm here as an asset here. And what ends up happening is that within a year, they're like, Alan, we were trying to get this done for the last 10 years for the client, and you got it done in 90 days, right? Because we just needed him to send us his net worth statement so we can open up this trust here, or we wanted to put this defined benefit pension plan in here, but we couldn't get him to see, the overall concept, right? And so you're right. It's about getting everybody on the same page and on the same mission, not just within the team, right? That's my business owner's job, and that's when you come in, right?
Yep.
Is that my job is to do that with his or her professional team, so we can accomplish that end goal, which oftentimes is reduction of taxes, right? Building wealth outside, getting being ready for any risks that come that way. So it's amazing how few people. It's easy. Great book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. It's easy to get trapped in the whirlwind that's going around us of the day-to-day emergencies and fires that we have to get put out. That oftentimes the end goals, the important stuff, the stuff that's really important but not urgent, it gets left behind in the dust. And that's why professionals like me and you are so important to come in and say, hey, I know that you got 19 fires going on. I know we got tariffs that are wreaking havoc, whatever but guess what? It's going to be something new next month. Right now it's tariffs and I-9 issues and things like that, right? Next month will be something different. There's always going to be a big thing. And if everything's going perfectly, you're going to find something to fret about because you've been fretting for the last 10 years, right? We got to get this estate planning done. We got to get this buy-sell in place, right? We got to get this life insurance, whatever it is, right? It's making sure that we focus in on what's important and not always urgent.
Yeah. So I know we're getting close to the end of the podcast here, Alan, and it's been a real pleasure having you here. But, we've covered a lot of ground, but what would you say is an action that a business owner can take, today to move forward in like you said, in getting this freedom, particularly in the area of business, but really what can they, we've listed a lot of things, but what can I actionably do after I listen to this podcast and say, okay, I'm getting out of the whirlwind and I'm actually going to take a positive step in the right direction?
I would say three things. Let me give three things. And one of these three things is going to hit the most, right? Number one, write down everybody on your professional team, your investment advisor, your life insurance, your employee benefits, your commercial real estate, your personal real estate, your mortgage lender, right? Accountant, attorneys, right? And write them all down, because here's the deal. If you died tomorrow, your wife needs to know, or your spouse needs to know how to get in touch with them. Right. And the amount of different investments that you're going to have, it's like, oh my gosh, right. We need to have this written down, right? Number one. Then number two, scale of 1 to 10, how good have they been to you lately? Right. And if they're below a 7, right, we need to find somebody new. Right. So that'd be a really good exercise, because I went through it myself and I said, man, my banker stinks. I was using Bank of America. Well, that's great for personal, but that stinks for business. So we got rid of, we're keeping them for personal, but we're going to go somebody new for business, right? No offense, Bank of America, please don't, right. But anyways, I was looking at myself, and that's, that's the biggest relationship I could improve on, right? The second thing is, I would legit ask yourself this: if you did not wake up this morning, what happens? Okay. Are you confident? Do you have a plan? Is it written? Do people know where it's written down, right? Because it is a legitimate risk, probably the biggest risk that your business has, right? We need to have a plan on there. But the third thing is this. If you go to my website, and the Business Planning Institute, and you fill out that value assessment, you're going to get the 2 numbers that are the most important. This is the scoreboard, where you currently are, where you could be. From there, everything else falls from there. That goes into your financial plan and say, hey, your business is worth $2 million, but for you to be able to retire, we need to get it up to 5. What do we need to do now to get the business valuation up to $5 million, right? And so everything else is going to follow the business valuation. Hey, our business is worth $2 million. We got a partner. We need a buy-sell agreement. We need it funded with $1 million of life insurance, right? So everything's going to follow from that question of, what is my business worth? What could it be worth? And the third thing is, what do I need it to be worth so that I can be financially free?
That's great. No, thank you so much, Alan, for being here. I hope everybody, as you listen to this, before you move on your day, take a moment to answer these questions. Really, is my business really serving my life, or is my life serving my business? Like you were saying, Alan, and I think that's going to really open a door to helping you get freedom, get alignment. And Alan, I just want to thank you for having this conversation, opening this container for people to consider. And hopefully you feel empowered and encouraged. I want to make sure you guys, again, reach out to Alan, connect with him on LinkedIn. We'll put all the things in the show notes. A real pleasure having you here, Alan.
David, thanks so much. This was a blast. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, you guys, we love having you like and subscribe, following along on whatever platform that is, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever that might be. Leave a 5-star review if you really felt this was valuable and helpful. Share it with your network. Leave comments. We'll make sure that Alan gets those as well in our show notes. Join us again on the next episode of the Business Roundtable podcast. Thank you all for being here. Take care, everyone.